friends, and welcome. This is Dr. Heather coming to you live from Cardin Center for Wellness as Dr. Ralph and I come to the close of our Tuesday here in Cardin Center for Wellness here in Overland Park, Kansas. A lot of questions we're getting of what is acupuncture, when do we use it, what do we use it for, when is it most often used, how often would you use Cardin, how often would you use acupuncture, what type do you use, who is it a candidate for using acupuncture? So no better than to answer that question than here is my partner, co-owner here of Cardin Center for Wellness, then Dr. Ralph. So I'm answer those questions here a little bit slower. So hello, Dr. Ralph. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Ask Dr. Heather Land.
Yes, actually we've tagged over here in Cardin Center for Wellness Land as well. So as you and I know, since we opened our doors, we have been using acupuncture as one of our adjunctive tools in our toolbox here, along with chiropractic as facilitating the body's healing. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about acupuncture? I know 20 some years ago when we hung our shingle up and opened the door, it was not a very known term. I think basically because there wasn't Dr. Google out there, people didn't know how to find what acupuncture was, but now we know there's an Eastern and a Western practice. So what do you do here? Who is it for? When would you use it? So answer some of those basic questions.
Basic questions. What is it for? Who is it for? Every condition and every person. So that kind of sums it up. Thank you. Have a nice evening. No. We don't use it on everybody for every condition, of course. Obviously, from a chiropractic standpoint, it's very complementary in the chiropractic clinic. So a lot of times for musculoskeletal conditions, pain conditions, World Health Organization came out 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago now and said that it's approved for pain management. So any pain-related condition, elbow pain, foot pain, low back pain, headaches, neck pain, big toe pain, whatever you want to have in terms of pain, and not only musculoskeletal pain like those joint problems, but also organ pain, gallbladder pain. We've treated a lot of patients that are having gallbladder spasms, and it's been able to alleviate some of that spastic, painful response to those organ systems as well.
So I do want to just say hello. Let us know where you're joining us from. Tracy says hello from Western Australia. Julie's watching us, I hope, from Hillsdale, Kansas. So Tammy's saying hello from Arizona. So let us know where you're watching us from. But it's not only just for chronic pain or for acute pain. So again, let us know where you're watching us from. You can tell we're still learning how to do Facebook Lives and helping educate people about what they can do to help facilitate their bodies, not only in crisis or chronic pain, but also as preventative pain. You had the amazing pleasure of working with one of the best acupuncturists in the world, Dr. Richard Yenny. In his clinic, he also used it as preventative medicine. So as preventative medicine, why would you use it and how would you use it?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So in chiropractic, let me kind of dovetail it with that because most people understand chiropractic in terms of when we're not having a pain response, when we're not having acute care, and we want to maintain the current health that we have, we use chiropractic to balance the nervous system out to create a properly functioning nervous system. I think we talked about that a little bit last week in terms of sympathetic, parasympathetic responses. So in the acupuncture system, it's really, that's why it dovetails so well with chiropractic, is that we're really looking for a balance between all of the different meridian systems. Classic traditional Chinese acupuncture, we divide the body into 12 regions, or what we call 12 meridians, and you don't want one particular meridian that's got more energy than any of the other meridians. So what we're trying to do, what we do in our clinic is we actually go through an examination to determine where that imbalance might take place, and then from there that allows us to create a treatment protocol in terms of where those imbalances are found and then how we want to treat it. And I'm kind of talking in circles
It's
there,
okay.
because what we're trying to talk about is not, so two basic types of patients come in, those that have a symptom and then those that have resolved the symptoms but just want to feel better. And so when we have symptoms, we have protocols that we go after. So we look at a depression
So
protocol.
they can't hear you very well.
A depression protocol or an anxiety protocol or a pain protocol, as we talked about. And then if we don't have a symptom, then what we do is we look at traditional Chinese medicine, what we call law of the five elements, and we're trying to figure out where the imbalance is in the system. Again, there's 12 different regions or 12 different meridians, and then figure out where that imbalance is and then create balance for it. So that's how we would use it in a wellness model.
Okay. What did I just show over here?
So what you showed specifically is the back side of a person, and specifically all those little dots that are on this individual is showing where the different locations of acupuncture points are.
So basically they run all the way around the body, starting at the fingers, ending at the toes, or vice
on the
versa.
meridian system, half the meridians begin and end on the feet, but what you can see is they cross. Why it correlates so strongly with chiropractic is that look at all of these dots that are on the spinal region. So when you get just a traditional chiropractic adjustment, whether that be with a hand or an instrument, you're getting meridian stimulation. You're getting acupuncture stimulation from there.
So I'm going to show the front of the body. And so as a trained acupuncturist, you are taught which points to treat. So we're seeing a lot of this dry needling stuff going on Instagram and Facebook. So explain the difference between traditional acupuncture and dry needling.
So using those acupoints, that's acupuncture, meridian therapy, acupressure therapy, electrical acupuncture, any of those kind of synonyms. Those are finding specific points to stimulate specific areas of the brain ultimately. When we stimulate those points, it's firing back to the brain and making brain changes. Contrasting that with the new term today, which is dry needling. What we learned it at is musculoskeletal acupuncture, but basically dry needling, my disclaimer is that I'm not officially trained in dry needling. I'm officially trained in acupuncture and musculoskeletal acupuncture, and in that form of acupuncture, what we're doing is we're finding the knots in the muscles. Western medicine calls it trigger point, and then in dry needling, if this is the knot in your muscle, most people have knots up here. What we do with the needle is we take it and we insert it in different locations in that knot. And we do it multiple times, so it's plunging. You pull it out and you push it in, you pull it out and you push it in. And what you're looking for, is a little bit of a pain response because you're getting into a muscle that is already tender and tight. And then what that does is that allows that muscle to relax. You're getting more of a neurologic relaxation effect.
So Tammy's saying she did it yesterday, and Julie's correcting me. She is in Los Angeles, just FYI. So what do you have to the right of you?
That would be to my left, it would be to your right.
Right, so we've also seen, let's talk about the cupping, because we've seen a lot of pictures now on Instagram of people doing some cupping or getting some bruising.
Okay, so in our clinic, we kind of do it a little bit more the modern way. We use a vacuum system, and what we do is we create a vacuum with the cup, and then that cup, basically what it's doing is it's pulling energy and specifically blood to that location. And we use that oftentimes like with low back spasms, neck spasms. What we're doing is we're drawing energy to that location so it breaks up the cycle. We use a modern system. The traditional system doesn't have the vacuum component to it, and you light an herb inside the cup, and it creates heat, a negative pressure, and then you put that on the location. You can also, once you're on there, if you're really doing specific musculoskeletal, is you can move that across there. I don't have the vacuum on, but you can move that across that tight muscle to break up that spasm as well. So that's cupping. That oftentimes leaves people bruised, so it looks like you've been picked up by an octopus, is what we say in the clinic.
But they're different sizes.
There's different sizes, so obviously low back we would use something like this, but there's no way I could ever get that on somebody's neck. And then obviously, like I was showing the small one, we could use that more on arms and forearm areas.
So we needle, so you can show us a couple different needles in different sizes.
So a couple different sizes, a 2-inch needle.
And they're sterile and sealed. Yep.
It's sealed in a package. And then, for example, this afternoon, I had a low back pain patient, so this is a 4-inch needle, and I do take that whole 4 inches and get that into the specific location that I'm going after.
And there's no blood.
No blood at all. So today specifically, she's having some left sciatic pain. So that needle I can go all the way into the butt region where the sciatic transverses through the pelvis area, and I can get that all the way down in that location.
And we can also do it electrically.
So in our clinic, we do two ways. We do it electrically. You won't be able to see the machine behind us, but we use a machine
right over there. Okay.
So it's a microcurrent machine. So we're using 75 microamps, and we're putting the electrical impulses through these two wet Q-tips. And what we're doing is we're placing them on the points that we're trying to stimulate.
So maybe for someone who has a blood dyscrasia, it can't be poked with needles, or for an infant or an elderly person, or someone with just skin issues, or someone again with a bloodborne disease that we can't needle. Again, a great use for that, or facial issues. Yeah, so great option as well.
I do a lot of, we talked about sinus allergy stuff last week.
Yep.
I use this exclusively for my allergy people.
So if you missed it last week, we did talk about 3 or 4 different options for healthy sinuses, rinsing them this time of year. So catch that on Cardin Center for Wellness page, or you can scroll down and see that live that Dr. Ralph did last week.
But I'll use these when I specifically do the acupuncture treatment. I think we referenced last week, this is what I'll use in that scenario. It works really, really great with kiddos as well. And then we have another electrical system that we use called auriculotherapy. So
is that your ear? Somebody asked.
it is my ear.
Frank asked, is that your ear?
That is a model of my exact
No, he didn't
ear.
ask that.
According to my children, that is about the size of it. So what we use is we use a different system. It's a microcurrent system. This has a little probe here, and what we do is we find.
Oh, people are laughing. They like it when you're funny.
I am hilarious all the time. That we back to the acupuncture. What we use is a completely different point. It's a little bit smaller because these points in the ear are much, much smaller. And so we scan the ear, yours specifically, not this one. We scan the ear and we find where that active point is, depending on what condition you have: low back, neck, anxiety, depression, poor sleep habits, whatever the case might be. I've got a person that I treat weekly with chiropractic, but she's also struggling with a little bit of creeping blood pressure. And so I use the auricular system to treat her system, to balance her system out. Again, another small little disclaimer, we don't treat conditions here. We treat people that have conditions. And so what happens is you come to us with your complaints, and we look at our protocols, and we look at the imbalances. Where's your spine out of balance? Where's your acupuncture system out of balance? And then we work to create balance within that system. And then magically those symptoms go away. So
the cool thing about the ear, if you hold it up, the ear is one of the few areas in the body that have all 3 layers. It's an inverse skeleton. So you have ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. So as you scan it for the acupuncture, means you can find the same tissue that represents your skeletal muscle, your ectoderm, which is your organs, and also your muscle fibers. So it's kind of cool that you can treat all those different layers, like you said, whether it's a headache or a muscle thing. So Tammy will take a couple questions here before we head out. So Tammy's asking, how would that help muscle cramps? How would acupuncture help muscle cramps?
again, it depends on how it's being administered. If you came to me, are we talking female cramps, or are we talking like
I don't think she's talking
spasm?
menstrual cramps, because we have done that. We've actually used acupuncture to help turn babies and induce labor and things like that. But I think just general muscle pain or cramps in general.
So how I would use it first is I would go condition specific. So if it was an elbow area, I would try to locate the point in the muscle that was spasming, and then probably would use what I call a musculoskeletal acupuncture, which marketing today is calling dry needling. You can tell we've got a little chip on our shoulder about that. And then we would go to that very specific location and then treat the muscles at that location. That kind of mumbled that up. I would find the tender spot in the muscle, treat the tender spot, and then what I would do is I would treat if it was an elbow pain, I would treat those active acupuncture points around that elbow location.
So, well, let's give Dr. Ralph a bunch of hearts, a bunch of thumbs up, and thank him for sharing our little bit of Q&A here about acupuncture, the different forms of acupuncture. If you know someone who's wanting to know more about acupuncture, then go ahead and let them share this video. You can share it to your own page, because what we do here is we just want to help people, educate them about what we do here, are helping people find tools and resources. So when muscle cramps, make sure you're not dehydrated, make sure you're not low on magnesium and calcium, make sure it's not tension and stress, make sure you didn't sit in the sauna too long. However, we were talking about acupuncture and chiropractic, so that was a great question. So we will check in on you later to make sure if questions pop up, we'll have Dr. Ralph check and answer those questions. But thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to try to make a
7 o'clock.
We're going to try to make a commitment to you that we're going to try to go live once a week, and the questions that continually pop up through the clinic, that we're going to help bring those questions to you. So we were just thinking, what type of conditions did we help people with today in the office? And that's what we want to share to you. So thank you again for joining us here in Cardin Center for Wellness. And you guys have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Again, this is a time to be grateful for all those things that you have. So our challenge to you is between now and New Year's, start a gratitude journal, put a couple of things that you're grateful for. That is the first on Facebook Live. A couple of things that you're grateful for. Yeah, it's a couple of things that you're grateful for. Do that before you go to bed. Turn on something called BDNF, which is like fertilizer for your brain. So it takes all those negative ninjas out of your brain before you go to bed, and go and fill your heart and brain with gratitude. So we're very grateful for you and thankful for all that you do. And we're very grateful that we have a community to serve and everyone who walks through our door here. And we're thankful for your questions and letting us share our knowledge on health and wellness with you. You guys have a great day and safe travels to everyone who's traveling. And remember, it's about family, and don't overfill with food. Have a great day, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.